Good morning, party people. Hi, folks. How's it going? Well, morning here at least. It is 4:30 in the morning out here in San Diego, California. And today's stream, I'm going to be working on building realistic end user queries from the Stack Overflow database. When I do my mastering classes, one of the things that I like to have is a lot of background noise queries, queries that are running all the time with people doing small inserts, updates, deletes, selects, things that aren't really slowing the system down overall, but to make it feel more realistic, like a real live system where there's lots of chatty noise happening, and most of the queries aren't really a problem. It's just some every now and then that start to pop up. This is especially important for me in the mastering parameter sniffing class, where I have all kinds of things that really do blow out and have parameter sniffing problems, but the rest of the queries are okay. Let's see here. Not the DBA you're looking for. Says, got you on in the background while I work on putting SP on Blitz first into Power BI. Ah, very cool. Anand says, Brent, are you following PST? I don't know what that even means, but I am in Pacific Standard Time, if that's what you're asking. But oh, I got a bunch of people that I recognize inside here. All right, so, and feel free to, I'm not on an urgent mission to get this done. Like, whatever I get done this morning is great. This is just kind of like bonus time where I happen to have extra time handy. So if you want to ask something related to SQL Server while I go through and work, feel free. Anand says Pacific time zone. Well, yeah, because I live in Pacific. I'm in San Diego, California. Oh, I happen to be wearing a San Diego Zoo sweatshirt today. All right, let's go get started. So we will switch. Hi, Dejan from Serbia. Howdy. So in my classes, I use the Stack Overflow database. It's the export that stackoverflow.com gives out that has a lot of users, questions, answers, comments. So when I'm designing these background when I'm designing these background queries, I'm trying to do things that function kind of like the website would. Now, and of course, I'm writing queries from scratch. I don't copy paste stuff out of the real live Stack Overflow codebase. I haven't worked with Stack Overflow directly in years. They don't need me anymore. They're really super smart. Dejan says, your last Power BI works only with the last Power BI desktop. Yeah, see, I like to do things for today's software, not yesterday's software. When you get to write stuff, you get to choose the rules. So let's see here. So I'm just going to start clicking on things in Stack Overflow and building queries as if I was going to build the website itself. So like if I said, for example, go click on a tag, let's see what happens when we go click on a tag. What's the database query that I would have to run in order to, when I click on a tag, like say Firebase, how do I get the questions that are tagged Firebase? I'm actually not going to do tags because that's going to be a little bit tricky in there, the way that tags work out in the public export. Let's click on users instead. And let's just grab someone's user account. We'll just go click on them. Look at that. Check out my book, Data Analysis Using SQL and Excel. I actually haven't seen that before. What is that? Wow. It's kind of nifty. I had no idea. This is what happens when I randomly click on things while I'm doing demos. Okay, so it looks like if I was going to click on this person's get a user's profile, we're going to call this the get user's profile stored procedure. I need to get information about this user. I need to get information about the tags that they're the most active in. So let's start that. Let's go switch over to Scotland. Oh, I like it. Very nice. Good morning, David. So let's start by saying I'm going to go get a user's basic information with, let me go pop over here, their top tags. I want to see the tags that they've got the highest score in and the most posts in. So the way that that's organized in Stack Overflow, good afternoon, Eamon, good to see you again. So let's say that we know the user's ID. So let me move this out just a little wider to make it easier to see. If I know the user's ID, here's the basic starting point for getting all of the user's data. Select star from DBO users. Sure helps if I'm in the right database. From the Netherlands, another one of my favorite places. G-Surgeon, I didn't know you were over there. I'm going to try and remember that too. I love the Netherlands. And so select star from users where ID equals And so this is where one of the things that's really cool about the Stack Overflow database. See up there in the URL, anytime you see a number up in the URL, it actually corresponds to the ID number in the database. So up here, up in the URL, it says users 1144035. Well, I can copy that number, and that's actually that person's ID in the users table. So boom, paste that in, and now we're going to see that's the exact person. See, check out, it even shows up there, check out my book, Gordon Linoff. So there's that person's info. Howdy, Norway. And of course, y'all are over in Norway and the EU. You're much more awake at this time of day. Over here in San Diego, it's pitch black. So I've got the first part of it here. I've got like who the user is. Now I got to go join over to posts and see what their most popular tags are. Now there's a column in the Stack Overflow database. Let's go switch over and say select top 100. Hi Dave, good to see you again. A star from DBO posts. In the posts table, there's a column called owner user ID. Owner user ID. This is the person who wrote that particular post. So I'm going to need to join out to the post table in order to go get their data. So we'll say from you, and then you, and then I'll say left. Well, it's not going to be a left outer join. It's actually going to be an inner join. Houston, inner joined. I lived in the Heights for a few years. P on U ID equals P owner user ID. So at this point, that post is the post that this person owns. Now let's go see what happens when we go do that select. And we're just going to go get all of their posts. I actually don't want their user info. I really just want their post info so I can see all the posts that this person, Gordon, owns. Ooh, holy mackerel. Geez, oh, wow. Boy, of all the people to pick, this person's done like 45,000 posts. Oh, that's kind of awesome. This person's kind of prolific. So now, Khaled says, why inner join and not a left join? Because in this page here, we're getting the tags that they're active in. Well, if this person doesn't have any tags, there are not going to be any data here. So I only want places where they've actually talked a lot, posted questions, answers. The inner join versus left outer join is going to become kind of intriguing here in a second. Good morning. Great to see you as well. So this is all the questions and answers that this person has been involved with, but there's a little bit of a catch here. If I scroll across, you see how tags is actually empty? So why is tags empty? Well, Stack Overflow, there are two basic things inside the post table. They're questions and answers. The questions are the things that are tagged. So like you see how this person, holy man, as of right now, he's got 68,000 answers. 68,000, the right coast. I like that. If I go click on one of his answers, how do I put an if? What's he say? How do I put an if clause in a SQL string? Oh, that's kind of cool. So here we're looking at a post. And so up at the top, I always got to get this right. Up at the top, up here, how do I put an if clause in a SQL string? That's the part that's questions. The question has a tag. You see this edit tags right here? The question has a tag. The answers do not, because the answers just inherit the tags from the parent. So now it looks like this guy's really prolific in terms of answering questions, but he may not be prolific in terms of posting questions. I need to join from his answers. I've got this totally backwards today. I need to join from his answers over to the questions to get the tags over there. So I'm going to say left outer join DBO posts PQ on P parent ID equals P ID. Because see, every time that you answer a question over at Stack Overflow, it shows the parent's ID over here. So I've got, this is basically, this guy's super prolific in terms of answers. This will join over to the questions that he's answered. Stack Overflow puts both questions and answers inside the same table. Okay, so now I've got that left outer join there so that I can get the questions. Now let's go see this again. I'm going to get all the PQ and I'll get both of these Q star. So now let's execute. This is this, woo, starting to take a little bit longer. I love it. Good. That's a good background noise kind of query to run there, especially for someone as prolific as this. Well, you know what? When I started out, I said that I only was writing background noise queries today. I was only going to write queries that were just happening in the background and would be relatively fast. This may not be one of those queries, because look right here. I mean, this thing's been going for coming up on a minute now, and there's no way I'm going to have this just run as a background query. That's okay. This may be a query that I give people to do performance tuning on, and I'll show you how I would performance tune it. So while it runs, we'll go ahead and start setting up our, did I get the right? Oh, snap. Oh, that's the wrong join. Oh, let's see if y'all catch it. Okay, I'm going to zoom in so that you can see the query. Where's the bug in that query? Yes, Jay, you got it. So I have a mistake here. In here, I said where these two things equal each other. Well, that's effectively a Cartesian product there. I've made a typo and I'm joining the entire database to itself, or that entire table to itself. So let's try that again. PQID. Let's try that again and execute that one and see if, aha, whew. Okay, that's much better. Welcome to the club, TGSPT. So now I have, over on the left-hand side are all his, Eric says your stuff is acting as a hairdryer on my laptop. Exactly, I've produced so much CPU speed and all that. Eric says, even with as, because you're trying to write the same query over on your end. Well, and plus remember, I'm using the big, huge monster Stack Overflow database too. All right, so now I've started to get close. I've got the questions and answers that this person was involved in. I'm going to hone it down just a little to refine the result set so that you can see what's relevant to the query that we're trying to produce here. So here, now I'm starting to get the tags that this person is, that Gordon is all about, the tags that he's the most interested in. So let's go through, and it looks like they're getting score, posts, they're getting the score, his total score on his posts, plus the number of posts that he has. So let's see, how are we going to go produce this? And I'm gonna move this over to the side so that we can see it still, and I'll move down a little bit so that we can move it. Let's put it just right on the screen so that we can show it just right. So here's the stuff that I got to go and get. The tags that he's involved in and his score. So each one of these posts has a score as well. So let's start grouping this stuff together. Coalesce as tag. So here's the tag that's involved. Each post also has a score. So we'll get sum p score as total score. CDCAU, it's the change data capture for the Australian University, I suppose. I wonder why it's not giving a sound. It should give a sound for that. So there his total score, sum, 1 is the loneliest number. You could do count star, but and I'll do that just to make it look more normal. As total posts. And then we need to group by, and throw this inside here, copy, paste, order by, let's see, I don't know what it actually orders by. Let's see. So here's Stack's profile page up top here. Is it sorting by score? Yeah, it's sorting by score, because here's number one. He's got like 59,000 points for this, 27,000 points for this, 26,000 points for this. Looks like it's ordering by score descending. So we'll order by P score descending and go. So let's see how that looks. All right, and there are this person's tags. Necra says, I prefer Count Star to Count Dracula. I like Count Chocula myself, Count Chocula, because it just evokes such positive memories. For those of you who haven't played around with that stuff, you can put all kinds of stuff inside here, like Count Chocula, and that works just the same. It's just counting the number of Choculas that it would find. I'm not going to leave that in the demos, though, because, of course, that'll make people think, wait a minute, why is he doing Count Chocula? So now I have the basics of this person's activity. Now, I should stop for a second here and say that what you see here is a little bit different than what's showing on Stack Overflow. Up there up top, each tag is just by itself. So they have just the SQL Server tag, just the MySQL, just the Oracle tag, and so forth. But what you see down here on my queries doesn't look like that. There's a reason for that. If I go, say, select top 100 star from DBO posts, and then dump out just 100 questions and answers inside here, you see in this column right here, this is how Stack Overflow exports tags to the public. So in their public data dump, every post can have up to 5, howdy London, hi Dave, or damn tank. Every post can have up to 5 tags. Not the DBA you're looking for, since I'm totally using. Isn't that awesome? I like Count Chocula, but the other thing you could do is count the, as in the count. 1, 2, 3. How many rows do you have? So here, so every post can have up to 5 tags. Well, that's cool. But what I really need is I need this normalized. I need it broken out per tag. And for Jedi Mind Gorilla, good to see you again. Unfortunately, in order to do that, I would really need a separate table that's like a child table. That's outside of the scope of what I want to give quickly for just background noise type work. As a side thing, I've been meaning to ship that in a newer version of the Stack Overflow SQL Server database one of these days as a child post tags table. When Stack Overflow first got started, this was exactly how they stored tags inside the database. That's where this legacy comes from. And you can imagine how terrible it would be to try to find all of the posts for one specific tag here, because you'd have to do like strings. It would be just CPU intensive. So they have much better ways of handling it now. Okay, so I've got my query here. I'm probably not going to show all of this person's tags because like somebody like this guy's got like 13,000 tags involved in it. I don't think I really want to go to that level of extreme. So I'm just going to do like top 10. So let's say top 10. And then greetings from Bulgaria. I am actually supposed to go to Bulgaria later this year, depending on how the whole quarantine travel thing works out. Sofia, specifically. All right, so now I've got my query, got my first background noise query. Let's go and create it. Create or alter DBO USP. So I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, Christian. Create or alter proc. It's got to be called proc. DBO USP get tags for user. User ID int as begin. And then we'll put down, put down here at the end, because I like to do that. El Muchacho, bienvenidos, El Muchacho, hola. My wife is always horrified by, my wife's from El Salvador, and she's always horrified by the Spanish that I know. I know pretty much everything that's useless. I know a whole lot of useless things in Spanish. I don't know a whole lot. Mira, el diablo estás en mis pantalones. You know, just all kinds of useless stuff. Jedi Mind Gorilla says, not a stalker, by the way. I just happen to never sleep before 5. You and I have like polar opposite schedules. I happen to never, I like to wake up at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. El Muchacho says, I'm not scary at all. Also, El Borracho. That's another one that I know that's very useful. Hi, Niraj. Greetings from Nepal. All right, so we got our first one. I'm very happy with that. How do you say drop database in Spanish? You know what's funny? Drop database. So, because they use English T-SQL. But All right, so let's save that. I'm going to put this on my desktop just as work in progress. That's usually how I just like to name my T-SQL, is just WIP for work in progress. All right, so I got our first stored procedure. That's good. I'm getting the top tags for user. All right, now let's go back over to the Stack Overflow site and let's see what else we should query. And I'll let y'all choose this one. Let's see here. Is there a query that you would want me to write in the Stack Overflow database? Is there a piece of information that you would want me to find? And think of it as something, hopefully in a perfect world, it's something realistic, like something that users would actually ask for on a regular basis. See what y'all come up with. Or just while I'm here too, I'll do open Q&A, switching over back and forth. Sip up my tasty beverage. Oh, I should have the music going in the background while I do this too, just to make it more chillaxing. Nobody has anything that they want to see out of the database. All right, that's cool. I get to roll and pick my own again. All right, let's go see. So next up, so we got this person, Techno Viking. I remember that. Eastern Europe, I forget which one. Top tags. Oh, like top tags overall. Oh, which tags are the most, okay, yeah, let's go do that. So the top tag in the, oh, those are both good. Abuse sysadmin. So I'm going to write these down. So meow top tags, abused sysadmin says question with most answers. David Hui, how many of my questions have been answered? Not the DBA you're looking for. That's why you're not the DBA we're looking for. David, that's actually, or Damn Tank, that's the second time I've called you David. Damn Tank, that's actually really good. Last 10 posts by the top 10 posters. Oh, Jay Maybe. Oh, yes. Jay Maybe, you are wonderful. Good catch there. Very nice. Excellent catch there, Jay Maybe. Average answer response. That's actually really good there, Bilbo. So Bilbo, average answer response time. And the reason why I'm going to write that down is because there was a point at which when I ran an analysis to see when was the best time to post a question, like depending on which time that you post, when would be the best time to post so that you could get the quickest answer. Although, looking back, you should never delay your post in order to get a better answer. You should just post as soon as you have the question. Okay, so, G. Donofrio, actually, that's interesting. G. Donofrio, fastest answer. And the reason why I'm going to find that interesting is I kind of would look at that as a fraud type thing. Like if the fastest answer is within seconds, then there's probably an indication of fraud. And I say fraud as in someone had everything staged to go and they just copy pasted it, but there's nothing wrong with that. Like you can do a self-answered question on Stack Overflow. All right. Now, several of you are asking like SQL Server tag stuff. I'm going to try not to make it tag specific, but we could do like questions by tag. So let's start coding some of these. So for me, Orange County, very nice. We get up there from time to time. I used to go to Laguna Beach all the time. When I worked for Quest Software, would go to Aliso Viejo. So top tags, create or alter, well played. Create or alter proc, DBO, USP report, top tags. And then I'm going to make it a little bit more realistic by saying within a date range. So start date, date time, end date, date time as begin and go. Let's see here. We'll say select from DBO post PA. So in terms of tags, let's see, what am I going to call the top? I'm going to say it's the one with the most. So there are a few ways that you could slice. Oh, that's actually a really good one. Okay, so how do we slice it? There are different ways that you can slice tags. You could say by score, by total score that they've had, total views, total number of posts. So I should let them choose. Let's say, because I always try to write realistic type queries, sort order equals quantity, we'll say as, and then I'm gonna indent it just a little to make it a little easier to see as we go through and write this. So where, well, this will be the Q's, PQ, where PQ tag equals, oh, it's tags with an S equals, oh, nope, there's no, I'm not filtering on tags, where PQ creation date between, I hate using between, I don't know why I do that. Well, Jedi Mind Gorilla, I'm going to stop taking any more suggestions in here because I got enough that'll take me through the next hour. So where creation date is greater than this, so start date. No, don't be sorry. It's okay. I like you. You're wonderful. And PQ creation date is less than end date. Oh, good catch, Anand. Thank you. Very cool. nvarchar, we'll call it 20. All right, so we got that. Order by, this is going to be delightful. This is so terrible. Order by case when sort order equals quantity, then count star. Jonathan says, why PQ and not P? Because this is a great question. So in Stack Overflow, all questions are the ones that are tagged. The answers are not tagged. And I'm going to do a join out to answers here in a minute, and I'm going to include the answer score in the sorts as well. So you'll see, so only the questions have tags. The other way I can say that inside here is, and PQ post type ID equals, and I want to say it's 1. Let's say select star from DBO post types. Layman says, miss the start. How big is the data set? It's about 300 gigs, ballpark. So let's see here. Question, yeah, post type ID equals 1 are the questions. So we got this. Yeah, I wanted to write the order by first because I think that that's something that I find kind of interesting. When sort order equals, what else am I going to say? Score, then some PQ score plus PA score. And I'll go ahead and do that answer join just so that it doesn't freak people out. Left outer join, DBO post PA on PQ ID equals PA parent ID. So these are answers join up to questions on this, just to make it clear. Jonathan says, will this have a select top star? Sure, yeah. Top 1,000. I'm going to do 1,000 so that it doesn't artificially large memory grant. And then we'll say 250 just to make it look more realistic. And this will be based on PQ tags. Is this the O? Clearly you've never had an O before. That's so terrible. So PQ, and we'll do, let's see here, some count star as total posts, some PQ score plus coalesce PA score. Is the outer point superfluous now? No, because not all questions have answers. Score. That's a great thing. I like how you're thinking there. You can have a highly scored question that has no answers whatsoever, and that should still count as part of our activity. Because I like it when people put in great questions that don't have answers yet. Santi says, good morning. Sorry to miss the start. I'm afraid you're going to fail the exam, Santi. It's good to see you again. So plus coalesce PA score 0. As total score. I got the sum in there. Okay, that's good. So we've got those. What was the other thing that I was? Oh, view count. View count. Sum PQ views. Isn't there a views? As I could have swore there was a views. Yeah, it's not fuzzy underlining. Total views. Okay, so oh no, it's not. All right, I thought it was. PQ. Could have swore there was a view count. Oh, it's view count. All right, well then in that case, we'll make this match to total view count. Okay, so that, then case when sort order equals view count, then some PQ view count, else count star. Techno Viking says, why coalesce and not is null? So I have a really passionate feeling about that. I am a really huge believer in coalesce, not because it performs better, but it just sounds magical to say, coalesce. If I had a yacht, I would totally name it coalesce. It's the most peaceful sounding coalesce. It was either coalesce or solution. I also really like the word solution for a boat name because it implies something that you have in a formula with water or some kind of other chemical that you're going to build a solution. Also, it means an answer to a problem, so solution's kind of cool. Jedi Mind Gorilla says, I think he needs a moment. Ah, yes, coalesce. I'm really into boats in the sense that I like to look at them from afar, but this thing that's up on my head, this is the reason that I would never buy my own boat. When I was, after I got out of high school, a friend of mine had a boat and did the longest freshwater sailboat race in the world. Longest freshwater sailboat race in the world starts in Chicago and goes up to Mackinac Island at the top of Michigan. I want to say 333 miles, which I don't, sorry for those of you from out of town, so to speak. I'm going to guess that's like 500, 600 kilometers. And it's a sailboat race, just all out as fast as you can go. Takes a few days and very competitive. And so I went for it because I kind of like sailing, but not enough to own my own boat. And I joined a team that a friend of mine had and was grueling, was really hard. There's a friend of mine who delivers boats for a living. All he does is take boats from one place to another. The storms were so bad that he was seasick. I never got seasick. I got really lucky. I just wasn't seasick there. But this guy who delivers boats for a living was off the side of the boat the whole time. Whoa! To the point where they have these seasickness things that are emergencies. You know, normally you would take pills when you're seasick. When you would take a pill, but if you're really seasick really bad, you can't because you're going to throw it back up. So this guy had to take an enema. There's a suppository, not an enema. I guess it's kind of the opposite of that. Take a suppository, a pill, jam it up his butt, and that would stop the seasickness. That's how seasick he was. So we're on the sailboat race for several days. And at the end, when we crossed the finish line, we were dead last. I am not even joking, dead last out of all the teams, which is kind of cool because then you win a trophy. You get what's called the pickle boat trophy. When you're the absolute slowest sailboat out of the whole race, you get this trophy called the pickle boat trophy. That's always a green trophy, and in our case, it was a keg of Heineken. So, because Heineken is the green thing, beer. So we got a keg of Heineken. But and it was really funny in the crossing the finish line photo. Everybody in my team, everybody on my boat was just grueling, exhausted, unhappy because it was so hard. And I'm there just smiling. I'm like, I love it. But I don't ever want to, Oh, God, I'm never doing that again. No. I love cruises. I love sailing on cruise ships, but never wanted any of that again, no. So all that came from coalesce. So that's why I would use the coalesce command, because it makes me think of somebody sticking a pill up their pooper. So I got this stored procedure now. Why is it giving me end? Why is it giving me the fuzzy underline under the go there? Incorrect syntax near go, because I need an end down here. That's why. End. All right, now let's see if this works. So, and this is going to be a terrible query. This is not going to be one that's going to be background noise, because this is going to be absolute. Well, depending on how narrowly we confine the date range, it's going to be absolutely terrible. So let's go give it a shot. We'll go put her into production, and I forgot my group by, so that'll sure do it. So let's see here. Yeah, Techno Viking, you like this, huh? It's pretty ugly. Group by PQ tags, and then let's give that a shot. Now let's execute it. Exec, USP report, top tags, start date. I'm going to give it a really short date range just to give myself a fighting chance. equals 2020 Kazakhstan. I've seen people from all over the world. It's really amazing. My favorite was the first time we had a follower from Antarctica. I'm like, oh, someone at the South Pole. Someone at the South Pole is actually following what I do. McMurdo Station. Or not 2020, 2010. Oh, well, we'll use my birthday. 11/10. End date equals 2010, 11/11. And we'll leave the default sort order, and we'll see how this goes. Yes. Okay, good. All right, this is exactly what I want for a background query. It needs to finish relatively quickly, even if it's got a crappy execution plan. And this execution plan isn't great. It's not terrible, but for a small, quick query we just banged out quickly, I'm very happy with that. So that was, I want to say meows. Yes, meow. Excellent answer there. We will take it. So... you know what I'm even going to do? I'm going to make you famous. It's not famous. Meow needed, or no, we'll do changelog. Because I want to make my stored procedures look vaguely realistic in terms of what end users put in there. So I'm going to build a fake changelog up at the top. Welcome to the club, Vandroots. Changelog. We'll say 2020-05-28, meow. I needed a quick report for the sales team. So we'll put that in there. So now we have that. Now let's see who's next. So abused sysadmin. Abused sysadmin is next, and he wants the questions with the most answers. So let's see what we got here. So we'll say create or alter proc, DBO USP. Report questions, a question leaderboard. Oh, and you know what I really love? You're going to really like the, yeah, Santi, I know, right? It's Santi, it looks terrible. When you look at that query, and I'll stop for a second and talk about this. When you look at this query, that order by would normally give most of us an allergic reaction because it's awful. But the cool part is, at the end of the day, if your result set is really small, it doesn't work that badly. If there are only, say, 5,000 rows that match this, then the sort isn't that big of a deal. SQL Server can sort 10,000 rows fairly quickly. But if I widen that up to a year, buckle up, it would be absolutely terrible. So down on the next one, we have, so for abuse sysadmins one, I could, Techno Viking says do it, I could leave it without a date range. But if I'm going to want this to be background type noise, I'm not sure how I want to do that. I think I'm going to want to use a date range on here just to allow it to be background noise type stuff. So let's use the exact same date range type stuff that we had before. And then instead of welcome to the club, oh yes, absolutely. Havit galore. It's good to see you again. You absolutely do need that. That's a very good point. And let's make sure that actually still compiles with the descending, because I'm not 100% sure that, and Doug caught it too as well. I'm not 100% sure that descending is the way that needs to go. Beautiful. Very nice. Okay, so that works. Now, let's see here. An abused sysadmin, or Jedi Mind Grill says, I see these queries a lot. Would be nice to have a date range limit. I know, right? Half the time we don't actually get that kind of opportunity. The users just say they need it over all time. And we can simulate that by a big, ginormous date range. Begin and go, and we'll use the exact same comments trick that we had earlier so that we can put abuse sysadmin inside here. And paste. And abused sysadmin, let's see, the CE, or the new social media project to display viral questions. Let's see here. So now we're going to do go. Let's go write this little thing. So the questions with the most answers. Now, there are, so you said you want to see the questions with the most answers. There are a couple of ways that I could do this. On the posts table, the public data export actually ships something with that from DBO posts. There is a column called, if I remember right, answer count. No, there's not. There is. Yeah, there it is right there. Okay, cool. Answer count. Hi, Gooba. So there is an answer count. Now, what I could do is I could use that. Another way I could do is I could pretend like Abuse sysadmin was really in a hurry and he didn't know about that column, because I always love those kinds of realistic queries. Let's go see how the normal version would work if we just use the answer count column. So let's say select top 250 from DBO, from DBO posts, and we'll use the same we'll use the same where clause that we used a second ago with the creation dates. Welcome to the club, Tanastar. Except this time now we're not going to say creation date. We also need post type ID, p post type ID equals 1. So those are questions. Now order by, what was the answer count descending? And we'll say star. Okay, let's go see how this works. Now we should have an index on creation date already. It's not going to have answer count on it. But let's say exec USP. Can we declare post type ID as a variable? Sure. Yes. Let's say report post leaderboard. And then we'll say post type ID. Let's not even use a number. Let's use it as a name. Let's put people in select star from DBO post types. So here are the different post types that you get to choose from. So instead of an ID, we'll say post type name and varchar. Oh, you know what? Let's even do implicit conversion. I don't know the data type on post type name, so it looks like it's an nvarchar 50. We're going to call it varchar 50. This will show implicit conversion, but it's going to be harmless because A, the post types table is extremely small. It would be easy to scan even if it was an implicit conversion. B, SQL Server is just going to upconvert post type name to match the table anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal. But I just like throwing in those little more realistic type goof ups inside there. And post type. So now we got to go from the post types table, inner join. So DBO post types, PT on PT post, it's just ID equals P post type ID. And PT, PT type equals post type name. All right, there we go. So Jonathan, now you have that little thing inside there. Now let's add that in as a changelog piece, 2020-05. We'll call it 29. Jonathan 9375. Make it generic, or make it work for multiple post types. Okay, so now we got that thing put into place. Now let's go execute it. So we'll say exec USP report post leaderboard. Start date equals 2020. We'll say 2010-05-01. End date, Techno Viking, but you're trying to make it slower there, and I need it to be a background noise query that runs fairly quickly. So end date equals, y'all love to write terrible queries, I can see that. 2010-05-02, post type name equals question. And let's see how that one runs. Execute. Beautiful. Nice. Runs very quickly. If I go over and look at the execution plan, it first looks to post types, then it goes over and looks at an index on the post table. Yay. Love it. That works great. Now let's try it for a really long date range. Let's say 2011 instead of 2010 and just see if that sucks. Good. That's nice. That's actually what I want to see in my queries. I want to be able to make it really suck if I need to, which is good for parameter sniffing type work. So we'll close that and go back to 2010, and that's very nice. So we'll save that. Jonathan type says, Jonathan says, does it make a difference going post types to post versus post and post types? Yes. If your query gets complex enough that the query plan times out, because Santi says it won't make a difference. It absolutely will if your execution plan times out when compiling a plan. To learn more about that, look at Michael J. Swart joins commutative. So Michael J. Swart has this blog post about joins are commutative and SQL Server knows it. Make sure to read the whole entire post because there's an update down at the end. The whole post he talks about how, it doesn't matter which order you do your joins in, and then you get further down and he says, actually it turns out that you do. Okay, so good. So we've got a couple of good queries inside there. We're off to a good start. The next one that we're going to hit is David Huey. How many of my questions have been answered? But we'll take a bio break. I will go refuel my coffee and come right back. So we've been going for about 45 minutes now. We will take a, Santi says, wow, I know, right? Everybody, so the whole thing behind that, I'm going to pop over a second to my camera 2 over here. The whole thing behind that, Santi, you're not the only person who thought it didn't matter. The whole thing comes back to there was an architect on the SQL Server team, Connor Cunningham, who wrote a post saying join order really effectively doesn't matter. But then if you read the whole post really carefully, you get down to the bottom. He's like, well, sometimes it does, but don't worry about it. We take care of it. And that's where it gets so tricky. And I talk about that in my Mastering Query Tuning and Fundamentals of Query Tuning classes. I give you examples of how the join order does matter. Bert says Jay, maybe, I believe you were going to do that leaderboard without the answer count column. But the end result was fast enough that I was happy with it. So I was okay and just shipped it as is. And then Bert says, what kind of espresso machine do you have at home? I have 4 coffee makers and a Nespresso. And I use the Nespresso the most. Coffee snobs look down on the Nespresso, but you know what? It works really well when you only have a short period of time. Khaled says, do you ever use chairs? I do, but not when I present. When I present, I always want to present with my hands, and you see me turning around from one camera to another. That really feels effective to me. It feels much more personal, and we get in on this camera, and I can be like, so I like the 2 camera type approach and all that better, and it's harder to do that with chairs. The instant that I'm done with webcasts with y'all, I use my standing desk. I have a little motorized standing desk, and it just drops down to a seated position. I won't make you go down there because it makes it look like we're getting ready to have a peep show. But I roll my chair in from outside, and we go from there. Jaime probably says, what's your favorite capsule? My favorite capsule is the Chocolatino, which is a chocolate espresso. I hate flavored coffees. Flavored coffees are disgusting. But that one's really good. It actually works out pretty well. Vandroot says, my wife, Barara, is coffee addicted, and she's laughing by my side. I know, right? It's insane that I'm a coffee geek and that I would use that. It's bananas. Pinal, good to see you. Welcome to the club, sir. Or good to see you again. He says, my background automatically looks blurry. This is a brand new camera. So usually I use a Brio webcam as camera number 2. I had it on my desk here a minute ago. But I just now upgraded to a second Sony. So my wife has been watching these webcasts, and she saw when I turned to camera 2, she's like, your camera 2 sucks. She's like, your camera 2 isn't very good. And I'm like, I know, but I didn't want to spend more money because we had talked about this, that we're going to save money up and we're trying to buy a condo in Mexico and all this. And she's like, no, you shouldn't feel guilty. You should go get that camera because that other camera sucks. I was like, yeah, party time. But yeah, it's disturbing. So I have a brand new camera over on this side, and then the one on camera one, which is up in the ring light, is still exactly the same as it was. So that one's still a Sony. I just now have another one of those Sonys. Damn, it's hard to see because the bright light inside there. I just have another one of those Sonys now on my desk. So it does the bokeh thing. Mac Genio says, have you been to that Columbia Coffee Triangle? No. I've been in Central America. I've been to El Salvador, but that's as far south as I got. Well, and it's really far south, and they do coffee, and I had fresh coffee and all that down there. It's pretty slick. Greg says, do you have an article you would recommend for reviewing parameter sniffing as it relates to update queries? Greg, no, and I love it. We'll do that after the break. I'm going to write that down so that I don't forget it. Greg Harrington, parameter sniffing update, because I can do that as one of the demo queries, and I'm not going to have it cause parameter sniffing whenever I'm doing the demo queries for my training classes, but I'm going to show you how it'll hit parameter sniffing just so that you can see it. All right, so we'll do, abuse sysadmin says, what model Sony? They're A6100s. A6100s because they're the cheapest, like good sensor, quote unquote, with interchangeable lenses and a flip-up screen so that I can see myself in the camera when I'm talking to y'all. That really helps me focus in on where the camera's at. All right, so we will stop here for we're going to take a 5-minute bio break. So I'm going to hit pause. It'll switch off. The stream will keep going and everything. I'll be back in 5 minutes. I will see y'all shortly. Be right back. right, welcome back, folks. Let's see here. Notes from the... Oh, funny! Penal says the reflection of the coffee machines is giving you some cover. I never thought about that, but yeah, you can probably see the coffee machines over in the kitchen corner. Jedi Mind Gorilla. I was explaining to a room of our developers what an execution plan was, and none of them knew about it. It's so interesting that you always feel like an imposter. I say you. I always feel like an imposter. The things that I feel like I know, I'm like, oh, everyone must know this. You know, it's obvious by now. Or when I blog about something, I'm like, oh, I've already blogged about that. Everyone must know about it now. And that's not the way it works at all, because we just don't all have the time to digest everything. One of the times where it really sank into me was when I started switching over to Postgres. When I start doing work in Postgres, I spend about half my time in Postgres these days and half my time in SQL Server. When I go, it's early dev, I'll talk about that too. When I go over to the Postgres side, I feel like a babe in the woods. I mean, there are problems like I'm trying to figure out how vacuuming works, how vacuuming is supposed to automatically get rid of old deleted rows. Postgres doesn't get rid of deleted rows as efficiently, as automatically, as instantly as SQL Server does. And it causes problems, especially if you have an application like ours is. We only keep a rolling 30 days of your diagnostic data in constant care. So we're constantly inserting hundreds of millions of rows per day and deleting hundreds of millions of rows per day. Well, Postgres automatically doesn't keep up. And so I'm trying to figure out how vacuuming works, and people are just sending these blog posts, and they're like, here, just read this. It's in this blog. And I'm like, well, but this blog is 40 pages long, and I want someone to boil it down for me because it's not intuitive, and it doesn't have diagnostic queries, and it doesn't, directly take me to the finish line. It's really tricky. Okay. So when last we met, Greg had an excellent question, and David, I'm going to write your stored procedure. Everybody who wrote in stored procedures, I'll go through and write those. Greg said, well, up until 8 a.m. You have me for like another 2.5 hours max, depending on how long this goes. But at 8 a.m., the coffee shop downstairs opens, and I'm going to go get myself a nice bagel at Lox and Bagel. So Greg said, how about parameter sniffing on updates? Is there an article or something that I can point you to? Most people aren't even aware that updates can get different execution plans. So let me start by showing you that, how an update can get different execution plans and how that can matter. So let's go see. So in here, I'm going to start with the users table, which is the one that I use the most often at Stack Overflow. I'm going to say, and I'll pull up the definition on the side for those of you who aren't familiar with it. The users table has a last access date column. Last access date is when the person last accessed Stack Overflow. I'm going to come up with a totally synthetic situation, a situation that would never happen in real life. But let's say that everyone with 2 reputation points logged in at exactly the same time. Let's say select, or we'll say update DBO users, unless our dev coded it exactly. Update DBO users, set last access date equals get date, where reputation equals 2. So let's build the execution plan the SQL Server is going to build for this. So here, oh, you know what? That's actually not, let me try a different one. Let's try 10,000. Try a different number, 10, we'll say 1 million. There we go. Let's try that. Beautiful. Okay. So let me zoom in a little bit and show you this. So if everyone with 1 million execution points logged in at the same time, SQL Server would start that by saying, let me go seek in on this index on reputation. I'm going to seek directly to reputation equals 1 million. I'm going to go do a key lookup in order to lock their row, in order to lock their data, get everything about them. Then way over on the far right, SQL Server says, I'm just going to update the clustered index. Was that the only thing you're going to update, SQL Server? You can't just update one thing. If that last access date is in multiple places, you may have to update it in multiple places. And sure enough, it is. If you hover your mouse over that clustered index and look way down at the bottom, see how it says there are a couple things inside here. There's the PK, There's an index on last access date, and there's an index on last access date display name reputation. There are a few different objects that SQL Server is going to have to update here, but SQL Server just collapses all that work down into one operator. SQL Server says, don't trouble yourself with this. I'll just update everything at once. And that's true for tiny amounts of data. But if you update lots of rows at once, you're going to get a different execution plan. So let's go write that again, and I'm going to say it a different way. Copy, paste. Move this down just a little so you can see the two. And now I'm going to say go update everyone with reputation equals 1. There are a heck of a lot of people with reputation equals 1, so there's a different plan for that. You see the size of the arrows, how much data SQL Server thinks is moving around here. SQL Server says, you know what I'm going to start with? I'm just going to start by scanning the entire users table. I don't even need to use an index to look up these people by reputation because I know there are going to be a whole lot of users that match. There are 6 million users in Stack Overflow here with just 1 reputation point. It's very common. So SQL Server is going to, Jedi Mind Gorilla says, I wish I had this example yesterday. I know, right? Well, the best time to write a demo is always today. Well, the best time is 10 years ago, but the second best time is today. So then SQL Server, as it moves across through here, a little ways down, he says, all right, now I'm going to go through and update the clustered index. And now this object is only the clustered index on this clustered index update, because SQL Server says, all right, after I've updated the clustered index, then I am going to sort all of these people so that I have them in the order of last access date. See, look over here at this sort. The sort says down at the bottom, order by last access date. Well, why would SQL Server sort 6 million people by a last access date? Because it has to go find them in that index. So now this index update is its own operator. This index is its own operator. The top one, this gets what's called a narrow plan. This one gets what's called a wide plan. And I don't really know why they call them narrow and wide, because most of the time when you see them, it's actually stacked up high rather than wide. Because down here on this one, every index that I have is going to result in additional lines inside here. So now, Baryon says, is there a chance someone could access an index between the clustered index and non-clustered index being updated? Yes, if they do things like no lock. No lock is a classic example of that. Kendra Little has a really good demonstration of how with an index seek and a key lookup, you can read data that would have violated constraints. And I can't remember the exact isolation level she uses, but it is theoretically possible depending on the hints that they use. So. All right, so now you see the big picture problem. So we have one update that can produce 2 different execution plans. And you asked, Greg, you said, what about parameter sniffing? I want to say your name was Greg. Yeah. So you said, what about parameter sniffing? Well, in order to do parameter sniffing, we need to put this in a stored procedure, create or alter proc dbo update, you will say USP, update users, reputation int, as update DBO users, set last access date equals get date, where reputation equals at reputation. Go. So now I have it in a stored procedure, create or alter that. Now let's execute it. Exec USP update users, reputation equals 1 million. Go. And let's see what execution plan this gets. If I put it in a stored procedure, what does my execution plan look like? So the SQL Server builds an execution plan based on the first set of parameters that come in. So he decides to use the index, expecting that not a lot of rows come in. Khalid says, why do I keep using USP for user stored procedures? I think you just answered your own question. If you don't want to, that's okay. It's just the thing that I like to do to make it really clear to folks when I'm creating code. Khalid asks a very valid question. Why not drop it like I've been dropping IX? I don't know. I don't know why I keep doing that. Maybe college, you'll be the person that convinces me to drop USP. So now let's try it again with reputation equals 1. And you know what? I'm actually not going to do it for reputation. Yeah, we'll do it for reputation equals 1 script. And we'll hit execute. And I'm probably going to need to take a sip of my tasty beverage because I have a hunch that this is going to take a little bit of time. Jonathan says, would batching help at all? I mean, it can. I mean, that's the classic. Batching involves more work. Batching might avoid parameter sniffing depending on how you code it, how you code your batching. So this thing's going to, and I would expect updating last access dates to take a hell of a long time when we're updating 6 million people. But Greg, hopefully this gives you the example of this thing is inheriting the execution plan for reputation equals 1 million. I can see its live execution plan, and we'll see if it's getting the same one. Let's go over to activity monitor and then current expensive queries, and we'll go show his live execution plan. Yeah, and see how right now it used the same execution plan as that tiny amount of data one. So he's doing an index seek, and then for every row that he finds, he's going to be doing a key lookup. We know that there are 6 million of these, so it's going to take this thing, it's a minute into it, it's going to take it another 2 minutes just to finish all the key lookups. Jedi Mind Gorilla, that's actually really good. So it's going to take it another couple of minutes just to finish the key lookups. And then also over here, it's doing the clustered index update. It can go ahead and move forward with that. And as it's doing, if I hover my mouse over there, it's also updating each of the indexes individually. I'm tempted to just let the thing run to completion so that then we can flip around and run it the other way. We'll do an SP recompile on this stored procedure, and then we'll call it with reputation equals 1 first. We'll get a different execution plan, and we'll see how different performance is with this. I got about a minute left, and so I will have more sips of my tasty beverage. I know that I got about a minute left because this thing has only done, say, 4 million of those index seeks. Khalid says, watching the execution plan run live, this is awesome. So the way that you get to that is you have to be on 2019. It's also available in 2016 and 2017, but you have to turn a trace flag on. It's fully supported trace flag. It's just that people don't usually like turning on trace flags because there's some risk with that. But you can get to it through active expensive queries. The other way you can get to it is by tools like SP Who is Active and SP Blitz Who. So when I run SP Blitz Who, see this column called Live Query Plan? This one's a little different in that it's not animated and it's a snapshot of one point in time. This is only at the point where SP Who is Active or SP Blitz Who runs, we show you how complete each operator was at that time. Baryon says, any server overhead? Yes. Yes, as in just like any time you add any extra instrumentation, it's going to take longer and your server's going to go slower. So here we had 3 minutes and 4 seconds for this thing to execute. If I look at the execution plan, so you can see how maybe this wasn't the most efficient plan, how we did an index seek plus like 6 million key lookups. I'm not going to guarantee that the other way around is going to be faster because updating 6 million rows sucks, but we'll go see. If I look at properties, you can also see things like wait stats over here, and it'll tell you what we spent the most time waiting on, if you want to go slice and dice through each of those. I could have swore there was logical reads inside here somewhere too. I can't remember where they put that. It's not going to be under there. It's not going to be under parameter list. Might be under query. Nope, it's not under query time stats either. Oh, well, sad trombone. All right, so that took 3 minutes in order to execute. Now let's recompile that. SP recompile USP update users and free that plan from the cache. Now we'll turn around and run it again for reputation equals 1. Remember, the last one took 3 minutes. I don't know that this one's going to be a whole lot faster. So let's go in and look, and we'll see his live execution plan. We'll go into Activity Monitor, Active Expensive Queries, and show his live execution plan to see what he's doing. So now, so you can see now what he chose to do instead was a clustered index scan on the users table. It's eating my hand. Clustered index scan on the users table. We'll see he also has to spool and sort all of the rows by each of these index columns. So there's going to be an additional overhead to that as well, sorting 6 million rows and then joining them into the index. As to which one is best for you in different scenarios, that's a separate thing that we talk more about in like our fundamentals and mastering parameter sniffing classes. But at least now, Greg, you know you have the answer to that. So there's a demo on that piece. Now, will that be efficient if I turn around and run it with reputation 1 million? Not necessarily, because now I'm going to be scanning the whole entire table just to find the one with the one person or 0 people with 1 million reputation points. All right, so I guess I should have left actual execution plans on there to see how that guy finishes up, just because we have our life invested in him, so we might as well let that finish. Okay, good. So these are moving right along now. So he's up there deleting row or updating rows. And then this other guy looks like he's going to hit. Yep, so the next guy hits, so he's updating that index here shortly once he starts spilling. Jeez, oh, Pete's. And we're at 2 minutes. I mean, I told you I didn't know that this was going to be any faster either, because just updating 6 million rows sucks. We'll see. What is he filtering by? Not expression 1017. Who knows? Could be only ones where it didn't change. Oh. Come on now. Wishful thinking. Greg says, thank you for that. The context of the question is trying to work around an app that insists on updating individual lines rather than using the identity column to update columns for each row. Yep. Mikhail says a filtered index. I don't think I have a filtered index in here, though, so I don't think that's up. Jedi Mind Grill promoting an SSIS package. Yeah, so you know what's really funny? So look, we're coming up on 3 minutes, and this other index isn't done. It might be that the singleton approach actually works better for this execution plan. Mikhail says I do. Okay, cool. All right, so it looks like it may be that the singleton execution plan actually works better for this one. So kind of funny how that works. All right, so I'm not going to hit stop because I don't want to deal with a rollback there. So that answers Greg's question. And now let's switch over and do David's. Actually, I'm gonna grab that stored procedure just so that I've got it, copy paste that out, and I'll end up writing a demo with that, just so that, because I'll clip this part out of the video and let people go watch that. So save a desktop. Parameter sniffing updates. There we go. All right, and thank you, Greg, for the question. That was very good. So back over on our work in progress. So David says, how many of my questions have been answered? So how many of my questions have been answered? What we're going to have to first do is we're going to take a user ID as a parameter. Then we're going to join out to the post table to find your questions, and then we're going to go join out to their answers as well. So create or alter proc, DBO USP, report questions answered for user ID int as begin. Welcome to the club there, Adi. End. So we'll do our little change log trick. We'll put our little change log in here so that we can credit David. So change log, and it'll be today, David Huey. Product manager wants to show each user's questions, each user's question answers. Percent, we'll call it percent. So now we're going to say select from DBO users, Actually, I don't even need the users row. I don't need the users row if I know their ID. I'm going to leave it in here just because I started writing that way, and maybe the person who wrote this query wasn't very good either. Inner join DBO posts PQ on ID equals PQ owner user ID. Hi kid, hi grandpa. My questions. Then we'll say left outer join because they may not have all been answered. DBO. Gooba creator alter, that came out in SQL Server 2016. I can't remember which update, so it's only been around for 4 years. It's not like you have really been missing anything. So post PA on P. So the questions ID is the P answer parent ID, their answers. Now it's possible that a question has several answers. So what I think you're asking is, oh, you know, I don't even need to join to the questions to get it. Remember we saw just in an earlier one, when we were writing an earlier stored procedure, there's an answer count on questions itself. So I don't even need that. Let's get rid of that. We'll say where where u ID equals at user ID. Now, if we want to know, so let's first start by listing out all of your questions and their answers. So let's say PQ star. Well, Colin says answered greater than 0, but the catch is you also probably want to see the ones that aren't answered, and then you probably want them as like a percentage rate. So let's see what this looks like right now. Execute. We'll say exec, USP report, questions answered for user, answered for user, user ID equals 26837, that's my own. Okay, so I need to also make sure that these are only my questions. So, and PQ post type ID equals 1, questions only, at questionsonly.com. Would a real world person write a query like that? Probably not. We would probably join over to inner join DBO post types PT on PQ post type ID equals PT ID and PT type equals question, because this is how users seem to want to write their stuff. So let's write it that way. Let's put that into production. And then let's go run the stored procedure again. David says, could I parameterize a user ID? Yep, that's right there. It's a user ID is a parameter. I think that's what you're asking for. If not, rephrase your question in a way that doesn't sound like an alien typed it through an Etch-a-Sketch. Could an answer? I'm terrible. I'm an awful person. It's amazing that any of y'all ever watch me work. Especially, it's amazing that any of y'all ever speak up, because I make fun of you constantly, because that's how I roll. So we have, all right, so I only have one question. So I only have one question, and it has been answered. So at least we know that it has been answered. So at least this gives us the numbers here. Now, let's pretend that the request was, Andre, welcome to the club. Thank you, Andre. I appreciate that. That's very cool. so now let's pretend we want it as a percentage. And Toratray, I love that you're typing in things as if you have some kind of hammer that just hits random T-SQL things. That's kind of cool. So instead of doing whatever it was the Toratray wanted to do, no, it's probably intelligent, with my questions as, I'm going to do it more like an end user would do it. I'm going to make this first. So I'm going to say, cigar. Oh, cigar. Thank you. Woo. Thank you very much. Surly Dev says, is there a difference between pointing the where clause on the inner join and not in a where clause? In theory, no. Damn! Oh my God, y'all are all over the place here. Oh, Yoshida, thank you. I appreciate it, Yoshida. The Surly Dev, so bad that I'm walking along the prom to the sea. Does it make a difference where you put the join and the where clause? No, but in normal cases, no. But read that Michael J. Swart post that I linked to earlier, where I talk about times where it does make a difference. Yes, I talk about that in Michael J. Swart's post because I sent him advice and he put it in the post. So now let's see. So we've got the CTE that has there, let's say PQ ID as question ID, PQ answer count. So now I have their answer, the question ID, and how many answers it has. Now let's say that we wanted to do a percentage. So let's say select from my questions, and we're going to say case, we'll do a count first. Count star as my questions. Some case when answer count is greater than 0, then 1. Else 0. As, I need an end in there, end, as answered. Let's see how that looks. Let's try that. Let's put that out into production and see how that looks as a starting point. Execute. Beautiful. So I have one question and one question has been answered. Now let's do it just like an end user would do it, and they go, I also want to see the percentage. So let's add another line into the stored procedure and try to add in the percentage. I'm going to add another thing in the change log. We'll say 2020-05-29. David Huey's following me now. He's like, Brent's putting a lot of work into this code. I better follow him. David Huey, PM also wants to show a percentage. And so I'm going to daisy chain it again. I'm going to throw another CTE in here. I'm going to say my aggregates as Colin says, is there any column to represent accepted answer? Yes, there is an accepted answer ID. So there we go. So there's that. Now we have that one. Now I'm going to select, so we have a CTE calling a CTE. I'm going to build another query now on the outside because we know that our results look like this. Now I want a percentage. So I'll say, Jay maybe says, wouldn't your answer count in my questions always be answered? No, because this is an inner join to post, but it's only to questions. We'll find one, we'll find a person. Let's go find a person who has only asked questions that have not been answered. So let's say select top 100 from DBO, post PQ, group by PQ, owner user ID. Yeah, Akil, but yeah, we don't always actually do things on the first try. I've seen your code. You don't get it right the first time. Having count star, let's see here. Let's come back to this. So post questions where, let's do this. Top 100 PQ, owner user ID, where PQ post type ID equals 1. That's questions. Questions. Then having, I'm going to group by PQ owner user ID. We'll do count star as post, as questions. Some PQ answer count as answers on their questions. Having some PQ answer count equals 0. Let's order by count star descending. Execute that. Gooba says, why are we wrapping everything into a stored procedure? Great question. So the whole reason that I do these is this is all work for my mastering classes and my fundamentals classes where I give people a running workload. And then they have to troubleshoot what's good or bad about it and then go fix it. Well, it's way easier when everything's built into stored procedures and I have code that randomly calls different stored procedures in order to simulate an end user workload. And Yashoda, glad you're enjoying the session as well. So this I expect to take a little bit of a while because it's going to go through and group all the people together. What I'm looking for is test data that will show me, so here we go. This owner user ID has 9 questions, none of which have been answered. So he'll make for a great set of testing data down here. Let's copy him down because I'm expecting to get a divide by 0 error in somehow inside here. So this person has answered or asked 9 questions and 0 of them are answered. So that answers one of your questions. Jay maybe saying, why wouldn't those always be the same? There we go. All right, so now I have this. Now I need to go see what percentage have been answered. So I'm going to say select from my aggregates. Don't need a comma up above there. Select from my aggregates. We're going to go my questions answered. And then how do we want to say this? It's going to be 9 divided by 0. This is where I'm going to get the... I'm such an idiot. So let's say that I had 4 questions and 2 of them were answered. That would give me a 50% rate. Okay, so I need answered divided by. Answered divided by my questions. And I'm going to throw in a decimal place inside there. 1.0 times, 1.0 times answered my questions as answered percent. And let's see how she does. Let's run that, put that up into production. And Akil will make you feel better. Wants to show each user's number of questions. And we'll go put that. And execute. Guba says, is there any performance benefit to using a CTE instead of one giant join statement? No, but what I try to do is write end user realistic code. I try to write code that looks more like an end user had written it. David says, do I need a divide by 0 check? See, now I don't. And the reason why I don't is that if you don't have any questions at all, then you won't have any rows that come back, which also produces a different problem. I may want to insert a row inside here for if there are no rows, but I'm just going to rock and roll with this as is. Okay, so that gets me really close, but the format on the number isn't quite right. See how it says 1 and I want it as 100? So let's go divided by 100. And let's try that. Execute. And then times 100, you moron. Oh, one moron. What a moron. 100.0. And then Abdul says, hi, Brent. Howdy. With comments like that, it's no wonder why you're such a popular YouTube viewer. Gabriel says times 100. Yes, if only you had been there when I first wrote the query, we would have been in much better shape. All right, perfect. We are done. Ship it, and we are out of here. That one is fantastic. Okay, so next up, let's see, what question are we what query are we going to write next? We nailed David's. Akil says, thanks, I feel relieved. Last 10 posts by the top 10 posters. Ace Flameseer, that's kind of a cool name. Damn Tank, I love this thing. This is so fantastic because this is the kind of thing that I would want to see when I log into Stack Overflow. I would love to see stuff like show me the last 10 questions or not last 10 things that somebody like John Skeet had done, for example. But before I start that one, let's stop for a second. So before I stop this one, before I do that, I'll go write that code, but I'm going to go again, refuel myself and go take a bio break and all that fun stuff. I will take a bio break and be back in 5 minutes. So I will walk away, go get my coffee, do all that stuff. Oh, thank you. Whoever just subscribed. I don't even know who just subscribed. I can't tell. Well, it should be up on there. It's it's Paulus Maximus. That can't actually be right. So I will see y'all back in here in 5 minutes. So quick bio break. See you back in here in 5 minutes. Okay, let's see here. Yes, Antonio goes, is he finished? The hell you think be right back means? You speak English? If you don't know what be right back means, we got bigger problems. You'll be on the wrong webcast. Okay, so welcome back. So now, okay, funny stuff. So man, it looks like I got a green tint on here. I'm going to have to check in on that, work on that. Okay, so the sun is starting to rise here in San Diego. So now let's go on with our next query. The next query that we had, Damn Tank, that's right, Damn Tank said, let's go find out the top 10 or the last 10 posts by the top 10 posters. Now, by top 10 posters, I'm going to use that as the people with the highest reputation. And I'm also going to say, I'm going to assume that we want it for a very narrow date range. I'm going to say, well, no, we don't have to worry about it because, well, no, so here's the reason why I want the last, a fairly recent date range. If, say that John Skeet's number one, and John Skeet's been posting absolutely like crazy, but what if he hasn't been posting in the last week? Maybe I want to only see things that are inside the last week. So what I'm looking for is the top 10 people who have posted in the last week and their most recent posts. So let's go see what we can manufacture out of there. So first thing we need to do is find the 10 people who with the highest reputation who have posted in the last week. I'm going to call this, in terms of a stored proc name, I'm going to call this as create or alter proc, DBO, USP, dashboard, new dashboard from top users. And I don't even know that I need a parameter inside here for the first version. We'll say as begin, and we'll stick our comment inside here, and let's go get our normal template that we've been using for a comment. So let's get our little change log inside here and say the first query that we go and do is from Damn Tank. So Damn Tank show last 10 posts by the top 10 posters. There we go. So let's go find them. Let's say go select. I'm going to start by saying just the top 10 posters who posted in the last week. And you'll see why as I go through and do another evolution of this that I'm probably going to need this first query to be something like a CTE. Select top 10 from DBO users, order by reputation descending, because I want to find the top 10 most active users. Inner join DBO posts. Oh, I'm going to write it like a user would. I'm going to say, because we're looking specifically for the users who posted in the last week, we're going to say where exists select star from DBO posts where owner user ID equals UID and with your Jedi mind gorilla. Exactly. Where, and I should format this just a little bit nicer. Where owner user ID equals this, and creation date is greater than, not a subquery, but it's like, that's a broken heart. I've never seen that before. That's actually really cool, Jonathan. I've never seen that before. Creation date is greater than or equal to date add, day minus 7, get date. Oh, okay. So this is going to produce a slight problem with putting real results in the Stack Overflow database. The reason why is there's never going to be any data from the most recent 7 days in this export of the Stack Overflow database. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a parameter with an as of date so that I can set it to an older date just so that we show valid data. So we'll say as of date time equals, and to get the default date, I'm going to go get the most recent posts, select top 100 star from DBO posts, order by 1 descending. 1 is the ID, so here I can go see, here's the creation date that I use for the mastering classes. There have been multiple Stack Overflow exports since then. I just don't use them in my mastering classes because I want a real specific baseline for my dates and times for stuff. So this is going to be what I use for my default parameter for this stored procedure. So we'll say as of date. The hell was I thinking there? Date time, and we'll call it that. And just to make it a little easier so that people don't wonder what's going on with that, I'm going to just make it 2018-0603. So now instead of date add -7, I'm going to get date, I'm going to say as of, there we go. A new date type, a date type. So now I have that, select top 10 ID, so this will give me the top 10 users ID, where exists I'm missing a parentheses there. There we go. All right, I think that's going to give me my top 10 users who have posted something recently. Now I also need their top 10, or each one's newest post. The way that a professional would write this is a cross apply. So with an apply statement. An apply is like a subquery, but it lets you return multiple values. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it the way is it a date or a date? Is it live or is it Memorex? I'm going to do it the way that an end user would probably do it. So I'm going to say inner join DBO posts P newest on you owner user. It's just ID on you ID equals P newest owner user ID. Each person's newest post. But this only just gets me their post. Well, let me go ahead and get the stuff out of the P newest star. Jonathan says, what's the difference between an end user and a professional? For me, an end user is someone who has SQL Server Management and Studio installed, they have Azure Data Studio installed, they have Excel installed, but they maybe have never been to a training class. Working with data might be their job, but not really working with databases. It's not like they're a database administrator or a developer. So these are people who are often analysts, people who know how to get the data out that they need, but they have no idea how to make those queries perform, perhaps. So I always think of an end user as someone who needs something and they can't get a developer to go and write the queries for them, either because they don't have the spend authorization or they just don't have a team there. I always think of one of my old CFOs. I had a chief financial officer, and she was really good with Excel. She was really good with SQL Server Management Studio. And of course, just because she was powerful in the company, she always had access to the production databases. And she knew how the tables were laid out. You would never want to take one of her queries and put it into a production application, but she could totally get the stuff out that she needed in order to get her job done. Okay, so let's come back over here. So now I've got their newest post. I'm going to say order by reputation descending. I also got to make sure. So these are the people who have posted in 7 days. Santi says nowadays the users are more into reporting tools with Tableau. Have you ever priced out Tableau? Santi, I can tell that you have not priced out Tableau. Santi, you're great. You show up all the time. You have really smart, I like you a lot. You say smart things. But Tableau, it's expensive. I love Tableau. It's magical. It's beautiful. But there's a reason why Power BI is catching on, because Tableau is just so banana pants expensive. I wanted Tableau for our own company. And I'm like, you want to charge me what? Could hire a full-time employee for the cost of that. Okay, so actually, you know what? I'm just going to stop there. Okay, so let's say we've got the users who've left posts within the last week. So let's do this as you know what a user would do is a temp table. Create table, recently active users. I feel kind of bad because Damn Tank's name is on this. People are going to think Damn Tank wrote it. ID int insert into recently active users. So here we have the top 10 most recently active users into a temp table. Then let's go get out their posts. Select, how do I want to do this? I'll tell you the way I would do it. Thinking back to when I was an end user, from recently active users, we'll still call this you, inner join DBO posts P answer on U ID equals P answer owner user ID. That's okay. That's pretty good. That's actually really good. Order by P. Oh, I think you know what a user would do. No, we'll stop there. Order by P answer. Let's show all of their answers. Let's show everything that they did in the last 7 days. I'm going to hard code it to 7 days. Jonathan, so you missed the beginning of the webcast, Jonathan. I talked about that. So you can scroll back and watch the beginning if you want to show up late next time. Now, to be fair, you didn't know I was broadcasting. You just showed up later. So, okay, so P answer, creation date, descending. So let's say, I want more than just their ID. I also want to show their display name because you're going to want to see who the user was. Display name, nvarchar, I can't remember how big display name is. Abuse sysadmin, aren't they always? I mean, that's my general experience. Display name, nvarchar 40. So we'll put in U display name. So now we can at least, and we'll put their location in too. U location, and we'll say location, nvarchar 100. Vassal says should exist from a performance perspective. I'm not going to go into that here. That's a great question for my mastering query tuning class. We actually talk about that in the mastering query tuning class. Okay, so we're going to go get U display name, U location, P. Oh, I also want to show the answer that they're. So this is their answer. P answer is their answer. It's not answer, it's body. And then P answer score, P answer creation date. So that should get me, and we'll only get, I said also we want to show only the stuff in the last week, where P answer creation date is greater than or equal to this stuff right here, copy and paste. And put that in. Guba, yes, absolutely. The answer to that is yes. So now let's go in and execute that. And hey, it sure helps if you don't put a parentheses inside there. I really love IntelliSense. Sounds goofy to glow about that, but it's just so nice, especially when I jump back and forth between different platforms. I don't need an extra parentheses there, come to think of it. Welcome to the club, Colaptero. I have a song that I like from Valderramas, Helicopteros. All right, so now we got that. Now let's go execute it. Exec, what's the name of our stored procedure? This, copy, and paste. And let's see. Jonathan says, okay, I'm back from watching the start. All right, let's see how she performs. Now, Let's see what happens. And we may need an index in order to support this. Not the DBA we're looking for. Yeah, there are a lot of IntelliSense products out there. I'm a huge fan of Redgate SQL Prompt. You don't usually see me using it in my webcast just because the licensing is kind of a pain in the rear, like having to re-register with licenses on different servers and all that. And most of my life is spent jumping around from one server to another. All right, sadly, this is not going to work. 36 seconds. 36 seconds. I might take that. Let's look at the execution plan and see if there's anything that I can do to make it super much easier. It did come up with a lot of... So it read 211,000 rows. Why did it have to do the key lookup? Oh, creation date wasn't on there. Okay, that's actually beautiful. I'll take that. And I love that Clippy doesn't give a missing index recommendation, and I love that it spills to disk. Oh, that's so fantastic. How many rows came back? 418. Let's tighten up the date range. I'm going to say, maybe instead of start, let's just go top 100. Let's just go top 100 and then show, because realistically, how many rows would we really want to show on a dashboard for people? Santi says, is it okay to have a key lookup in a plan? It depends on what your goals are for performance tuning with that query, and I talk about that in my mastering index tuning and query tuning classes. Okay, so I am happy with that. It runs in like 2 seconds, so I'm cool with that. For a background noise query, that's completely fine, and I'll call that one a day and keep moving on. So let's save that one. Now let's see who else had the next one. So Bilbo had another... Bilbo had average answer response time. Oh, I'm going to copy both of these so that I can move these down further. So Bilbo had average answer response time. Now, how would an end user write this? So what would an end user be asking that would cause that? Wow, Jonathan, create a view. That's actually not bad at all. Jonathan, yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to create a view. That's actually really interesting. Jonathan, I love that. That's just perfect. Abdul says, I'm new to this community. I just wanted to ask if Apex SQL is a good add-on. It depends on what the problems are you're trying to solve. Start with the problem you're trying to solve first. You don't go into a carpenter shop and go, is a hammer a good tool? Is a saw a good tool? It depends on what you're trying to do. So start with the problem you're trying to solve first. So I love Jonathan's answer around making it a view. So let's go make it a view and go from there. So let's say create or alter view. And what would a user do? They would start their view with VW because that's what users do, but we'll make it just a little bit more obfuscated and we won't start it with VW. Average answer response time as select from DBO post PQ. So that's the questions. Inner join DBO post PA on PQ ID equals PA ans PA parent ID. Now we need to get, so this is actually interesting. So a post can have multiple answers, but you want the first answer. You want the first answer for one given post. I'm gonna say accepted answer because we don't really care about the crappy answers, and God knows there are a lot of those in Stack Overflow. So let's go for accepted answer. There is a column for that. Let's show you. Select top 100 star from DBO posts. There is a column called accepted answer ID. Here it is. Accepted answer ID says, for any given question, what is the answer one if you want to go look it up? So let's do that. Let's say PQ accepted answer ID equals PA ID. And I don't know, oh good, so we're sorting by IDs. There is no ID 0, so I don't have to worry about filtering that out because it looks like we're using that as a magic number here. So that's good. So this, now I need to get the date difference between the time the question was posted and the time the answer was posted. Date diff, we'll go in, do we want seconds? Let's go seconds. Seconds, why are you fuzzy underlining that? Must be the only statement in the batch. There's a go right there. Hold on a second here. Let's just try star. See if that makes it all go away. Average answer response time was accepted answer ID was first. Oh, yeah, that's okay. All right. So date diff PQ. Wasn't I just glowing about IntelliSense? And then I'm like, what the hell's going along here? This is why third-party vendors make stuff for IntelliSense and they actually sell well because it's a little better sometimes than the built-in free stuff. So the date diff between the creation date and PA creation date. And I never remember the syntax for the date diff command. But built-in syntax, date diff interval starting date ending date. Okay, so seconds. And I don't know if seconds is right. Seconds, we'll try putting that all the way out and see. As response time seconds. Let's see what happens. Nope, clearly seconds is not a recognized option. Second, let's try that. Execute. All right. So now select top 100 star from DBO average. Can we have an answer or pointless order by? Well, what I'm going to do is, so this gives me the response time, but the thing that Bilbo wanted was the average response time. So what I'm going to do is now layer in a query that calls the view. So I'll have a stored procedure that goes and calls that thing. I'm also going to get tags out of here, PQ tags, and I'm also going to throw in where, whoops, sure need a comma inside there, where PQ post type ID equals 1. I'll also get the date of the creation, PQ creation date as question date, so that this way we're going to be able to aggregate stuff off of the view. Necroduck says, as I remember, you can't add an order by in a view's definition. Don't tell me what I can't do. So in theory, you're not supposed to be able to say order by PQ tags, for example. In theory, you're not supposed to be able to do this. It says order by is invalid unless top, offset, or for XML is implied. Okay, select top 100%. So let's try this. Isn't that terrible? Isn't that terrible? So let's go ahead and rip that out because I'm not a big fan of doing that. So let's go get rid of that little fella there. So now we have our view. So the view is in place. So many bad answers. Now let's go through and get what Bilbo wanted. Bilbo wanted rolling averages. Let's go do that. So we'll say create or alter proc, DBO USP report, average, answer time by tag. And we'll, again here, we'll do start date, date time, end date, date time, tag, nvarchar 50. We'll just say as, begin, and then end, go. Copy. Meow says, don't you have to specify a large int instead of the top 100%? Look, go do it yourself. I'm going to go on and do something else here. But I like that you, okay, sure, we'll go do it. So let's see here. Order by ID. We'll go order by ID descending just to prove that something's going to work or not. So top 100% PQ ID. So let's put the view in place and execute. And then select star from, well, just give me the top 100. Top 100 star from DBO average. Thank you. Appreciate that. Execute that. So now, just to point out here, Meow is correct in that SQL Server optimized away the 100%, and it's not ordering by ID descending here, just so that everybody catches what I did really quickly. Let's go execute this to put it in play, and then execute this, and SQL Server optimized away the top 100%, and it is not ordered. So what if I put in here, instead of 100%, the max number for a big int, or max number for an int, and I never remember what this is, max number for int, and I usually want to do this because it kind of lines up with a phone number. It would be funny if I remembered it as a phone number, except I never do, like 2147842. And I used to jokingly say that it's the number for Bob Ward's favorite pizza place in Dallas, because that's a Dallas phone number, 214. Execute, and then let's try that and see if it orders by select ID descending, and there we go. So nice job, Meow there. So let's go get rid of that, and I don't need the ID, so we'll go get rid of that. We'll rip out the order by ID descending. Let's go put this back into production, and then let's go answer our query. So, yes, exactly. And I've called that number, and it doesn't actually work. So let's say from average answer response time, and we'll call that R for our report table, where our creation date, nope, it's called question date. Our question date, Necroduck said that video is actually really good, and I say that, but I've never seen the whole thing. Greater than or equal to, we'll do between in this one. We'll do greater than or equal to. Start date, and our question date is less than end date. All right, so there now we've got that. And we'll filter by tags too. And our tag equal at tag, tags equal at tag. All right, so now he wanted average numbers. So let's go get that out. We'll go top 100 year of question date as question year, month question date as question month, average response time seconds as, and we'll multiply it times 1 so that we get a nice little decimal number there, as average response time seconds, order by year, question date, month, question date, group by year, question date, month, question date. All right, so that should do the trick. Then let's execute that. And then let's say select star for, not select star, you moron. Exec USP report average answer time by tag, start date equals, and I'm going to start with a really super narrow date range, 2013-01-01, end date equals 2013-01-07 or 8, at tag equals SQL server. Nope, it's kind of wrapping around there on the video. I'll move that up here so you can see it a little easier. Tag equals SQL server. And let's see how she does. I don't remember if I put that stored procedure in production. So let's go execute that just to put her in production. And then let's go run her and see how she does. Love it. That's fantastic. So, works very well there. Oh. And I love that it's a nice, ugly execution plan. I love stuff like this for background noise queries where stuff is chatty all the time and lots of queries are happening. You might open up the execution plan and it might look terrible, especially because it's going to have really high estimated numbers on here. And Clippy's going to be like, oh my God, I need an index. It's so important. When in reality, this thing runs blazing fast anyway. So let's try it for a wider date range. Instead of just January the 8th, let's try it for the next year. Let's say 2013, 12, let's say 2014, 01, and execute. Yep, that's right. Clippy showed up. Woke up this time of morning. Good, beautiful, good. So it takes a longer period of time when we ask for more data. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want to see, because then just as long as it's run for a realistic date range, we're going to be completely fine. Great. Ship it, save this file, and let's move on and do the last query for today. So the last query for today, that was Bilbo. Oh, Gidono Frio says he wants the fastest answer. Oh, I love that. We'll get like the top 10 fastest answers for a date range, because you know what else we'll do is we'll use that exact same view. We'll use the exact same view again, since it has answer response time inside of there. Oh, it's just love it when a plan comes together. So we'll say report fastest answers. And on this one, we'll use tag again as well. So in this time, I'm going to not be doing grouping. I'm just going to go from here, where, perfect, that's in that side of the date range as well. This time, we're going to order by our response time seconds descending. And we're going to get the top 10. We're going to join from here back over to the posts because we have to be able to show the details for the post. If all I did was the stuff in R, it's not going to be a very useful report. Let's go execute it, put it into production, and then I'll go show it. Oh, yes, no, you're absolutely right. Gianfrio, good catch. Ascending, not descending. Let's put that into production again. I'm so used to just sorting things by descending because I like seeing the big stuff first. There's a terrible joke inside there. Let me put the comment in to make sure that I credit G. Donfrio. Oh, I got to get the other comment in there inside for Bilbo too as well. Let's get both of those folks credited here. So copy this up and put it on Bilbao's one. So Bilbao, let me make sure I spell his name right because I don't know if he did. Yeah, it's just Bilbo Baggins. Okay, cool. So that was in here, changelog Bilbo Baggins. Find out when fast answers are coming in. And then next up we're going to do, let's copy this out. Sure, copy, whatever. And then paste this down here for Gidonfrio's. Gidonufrio. Looking for the fastest answer fingers in the West, possibly fraud. So we got that now. So now I've got the stored procedure. It just doesn't have anything really useful inside of it. So let's go show you what's inside of it before we go and refine it to join out to the data. Oh, I love that. This is just great. Did I not put the wide date range? Oh, yeah, that's a wide date range. Oh, that's an entire year. Oh, that's delicious. Oh, I totally love it. He said, James says, sorry, James, I don't know that you're the same person. How am I supposed to know that? You could be trying to take credit for, all right, I'll put you separately up in the, as the second reviser, just in case you're a different person. 29th, and we'll say James Randall. Fixing bugs left over from Bilbo. There we go. Save. So now down here to Gidonfrio. So we have, I love that this is relatively slow across the span. Necroduck says, shouldn't it be the fastest accepted answer? Yeah, if you go back and see what we did in the view, this is only accepted answers. So in here, this takes Gabrielle. Okay, sure. Let's put Gabrielle inside there. So Gabrielle, Deonfrey. Is it like, I'm going to guess it's like this. Oops, no, it's not with the semicolon. Is that how it works? And tell me if it's not, because it'd be kind of cool to get your name right. Or alias, whatever people want to put inside there. So I love that this takes a little, perfect, Deonfrio. So I love that this takes a little bit of time, that this takes like 4 seconds. 4 seconds isn't bad at all. Now let's go because unfortunately this isn't very useful, just seeing the tag and the question date and the response time seconds. I also need to get the question's ID so that I can, up in the view, I need to get the question's ID so that I can use it to join. So PQID, let's put that view into place. And then down here, I'm going to say in our report with the fastest answers, inner join DBO posts, PQ, just call it P, on our ID equals PID. And then this way I can say, our response time seconds, P star. Let's get everything from the posts. Oh, okay. So if you want, if a human being did this, what would you want to see as a human being? I'll stop and switch cameras here for a second. Jedi Mind Gorilla. So what would a human being see if they wanted to see the fastest answers? They would want to see how fast it was in seconds. They would want to see the question's title, the contents of the question, the contents of the answer, and the users who were doing the question and answer. Because you want to see things like, is it the same user posting the question that it is posting the answer? Thanks. Glad you like the transition, Hawkeye. So let's try that. We're going to join in now to a few more things. We're going to go join into the answer, and we're going to join to the users who posted each of those, because that'll make a more interesting result set. So let's see here. So now we have, I'm going to tweak this just a little so that it makes it clear what's a question, and I'll even spell it out. P question. So P question here. And I said that on here we wanted to see the question's title, P question creation date. Now I want to go see who posted it. And the body, we should see the body too as well. Oh, thank you, Hawkeye. I appreciate that. That's very nice. So P question body. And then I don't need a comma out at the end there. Now let's see who posted it. Inner join DBO users, U question on P question owner user ID equals U question ID. Whoops, it may not be. Oh, it is answered. We do know that it's answered. Inner join DBO posts, P answer on P question accepted answer ID equals P answer ID. Inner join DBO users U answer on P answer owner user ID equals U answer ID. So now we got all the people involved in it. Let's go see U question display name as questioner display name. U question, I'm going to say reputation, because I'd want to see if there's somebody who's like fresh and new, or if this is somebody that's been around for a while. Reputation as questioner reputation. P answer body as answer body. P answer, I don't really know that I need to see the date time. U answer display name as answerer display name. U answer reputation as answerer reputation. Okay, got a lot of good data out of there. Now, this was taking around about like 4 seconds, even when we ran it for an entire year. Let's see how she does now. Because I wouldn't be surprised if, hey, no, I will take it. Yes, that's fantastic. So, you know what else I want to see? I would want to see the answer score. Did this person get rewarded a lot for their hard work? So let's say, let's throw in just the P answer score as answer score. All right, there we go. Forgot a comma. Go back up there and hit that. And now let's go put that stored procedure into production, and I think we are good. That's actually really nice. I love that this thing, even for a really large date range, like over a year, it still produces results within, say, 5 seconds. I love that it calls a view. It's going to look like a really ugly execution plan. Oh, that's beautifully ugly. But when we talk about something that SQL Server can do relatively quickly, that's not so bad. I'm down with that. That's just wonderful. So I will, that's great. It was a very good idea there for Gabrielle. Thanks for suggesting that in terms of a query. So that wraps up what I wanted to do this morning. I wanted to go through and create a few more background type workloads inside my Stack Overflow database, just to make it look like they're more insert random type of queries rolling on. I didn't do any inserts, updates, or deletes. I just ended up doing selects this morning, but still, that's good. It gives me a wide variety of stuff to go and work through. So that's all I needed this morning. Thanks, y'all, for hanging out with me. I'm going to go switch off now. So it's 6:44. I still have a while before my coffee shop opens. But I'll go work on some blog posts. And then I got a client engagement this morning to work through, too. So I will have fun. Hope y'all have a nice, fun, safe day. And see you later. Adios, everybody.